Well, it's Sunday the 20th of December. Tomorrow is winter solstice, and once again Boris has declared that there is going to be a change in how us Londoners and the southeast of England have to live in Tier 4. So thought I would celebrate this fact with a continuation of my reading from Dolores Cannon's books, Conversations with Nostradamus. So this is from the appendix at the back, and I'm continuing on from where I was before, starting now. In our interpretation, many of the quatrains described concepts so complicated and advanced that there were no words for them, either in Nostradamus' times or ours in the late 1980s. Now, with the many advances in computer technology, there are finally words and names to describe the indescribable. One of these concepts is the science of nanotechnology. It is now said that the reduction of computer chip size has reached its limitations. The only way to go smaller is to resort to the cellular level. Nano means very tiny, so we are looking at a science that can produce machines or robots so small they can only be seen on the microscopic level. This science has opened an entirely new world of possibilities. Extremely tiny machines or robots could be injected into the human body and be able to travel through the blood system for a variety of purposes. The computers have verified that it will also be possible to reproduce or replicate portions of the human body by duplicating the DNA information in a person's cells. From the medical viewpoint, it would be an astounding breakthrough to be able to duplicate and replace amputated limbs and diseased organs of the body. This could be what Nostradamus referred to in Century 11, Quatrain 13, when he spoke of doctors and scientists replacing or creating an entirely new body when the old one had become too diseased to continue. He saw the human body being perfected to the point that it would never die. Of course, this could be a blessing or a curse. In my work with aliens, especially in Legacy from the Stars, I discovered that they use methods similar to this. They do not have to die until they are ready to. I had heard of cloning, where the body would be duplicated by growing from a cellular level in the same manner that a baby is formed, except that this would be an exact duplicate of the original. In the science of nanotechnology, cloning would be too slow. With the help of computers, the body could be quickly replicated when the genetic DNA code of the cell is read. This sounds like a tremendous medical miracle, but knowing human nature, it is obvious that certain people would discover ways to use this method for war. In this case, it sounds like Quatrain from the Century 10, Quatrain 72, the famous 1999 quatrain. Nostradamus said he saw the development of armies through eugenics to produce men without morals, virtually killing machines. This nanotechnology method would indeed be faster than the cloning or genetic manipulation that I thought he was referring to. Also, with this method of the development of an organic computer, such as Nostradamus saw the great genius using, would be totally possible. He said in Century 4, Quatrain 31, it will be self-renewing like the cells of your body. Some of the organic parts will eventually wear out and get old, but meanwhile it will have replicated itself, so there will be organic parts sloughing off from this device. But there won't be any loss of knowledge, because it will be continually self-renewing. Applications of this computer will be applied wider and wider to where it would totally alter the technology of mankind. Scientists say that the macroscopic robot cells would be able to duplicate themselves. Experts say it would also be possible to duplicate a person's intellect and place it into one of these machines. All of this will be possible since everything is energy, and thought processes can be stored and duplicated as energy. In Quatrain 3 of Century 4, Nostradamus says that the great genius perfects this new technology, invents the organic computer, and then, as a corollary to this development, he envisions a way of transplanting some of his genius and knowledge into this computer, so it will still be there to serve mankind after his body has aged and dies. He develops it to the highest point possible to transfer his genius, or rather duplicate his genius and his knowledge. So he still has it, but it's also in this organic computer. The rest of the explanation of this quatrain described the process used. All of these concepts sounded like science fiction in the late 1980s, when we were receiving this information. But not a short 10 years later, it is not only within the realm of possibility, it is being actively worked on by scientists all over the world. The possibilities of nanotechnology are increasing daily and are mind-boggling. There are several laboratories all over the world, including 3 in California, working on this, so it is fast becoming our future and our reality. So Dolores Cannon got that from the New York Times, this information, from the New York Times, April the 2nd, or April the 11th actually, 1995. A bit of DNA may become the fast computer of the future is the title of the article. Anyway, I shall continue with Dolores Cannon. Theorists hope to tap the vast computing powers they see in the memory and processing of nature's genetic machinery. One new proposal is for a memory bank containing more than a pound of DNA molecules suspended in about 1,000 quarts of fluid, in a tank about a yard square. Such a bank would be more capacious than all the memories of all the computers ever made. The reason is that chemical reactions occur very fast and in parallel, so that if the DNA molecules are synthesized with a chemical structure that represents numerical information, a vast amount of number crunching is done as the reaction proceeds. Although the field of biological computing is still in its infancy, computer scientists are likening today's first wobbly steps to the early development of electronic computers. Scientists have commented, "The floodgates have started to open. I've never seen a field move so fast. A door has opened to a whole new toy shop." A DNA computing system would bear no resemblance to a conventional computer, raising the question of what a computer is. Scientists have said it's quite exciting. It's a completely new way to think about computing. Our minds are prejudiced to think about computing in terms of computers we build ourselves. But it's important to free our minds to think about how computing may occur naturally. End quote. That means that DNA might not be the only new type of computer. There might be a lot of computers out there, and I suspect that there are. Note, this brings up the concept that our entire bodies are computers in the way they operate. It might be said that computers thus far are a reflection of us, and our entire body could conceivably be used as a computer, hooked up to wires or machines. It also goes along with the idea that we are parts of the body of God, and are transmitting information, experiences, emotions, etc. to Him, to God, as suggested in my other books. This also sounds similar to the UFO and alien communications, that we are transmitting information to their data banks. Maybe they don't really need the implants after all. Maybe much of the information is transmitted by our energy, especially if the aliens are among the more advanced beings. They did say they could tune in to our specific vibrations, and that everyone's vibrational frequency was different from everyone else's and quickly identifiable to them. This goes along with the idea of Nostradamus tuning in on my frequency, and the way he knew when I brought someone new to him. He did not recognize their vibration until he realized that I was behind them. He probably didn't know how he was doing it. He was just more sensitive to individual vibrations than the average person. The advantages of DNA computers would be that they are 1 billion times as energy efficient as conventional computers, and they use just 1/1000th of the space to store information. By exploiting the extraordinary efficiency and speed of biological reactions, molecular computers can perform more than 1 billion operations per second, which makes them 1,000 times as fast as the fastest computer. But more important, computer scientists describe DNA computers as massively parallel, meaning that with billions or trillions of DNA molecules undergoing the chemical reactions, it would be possible to do more operations at once than all the computers in the world working together could ever accomplish. One of the simplest ways to use DNA might be as a memory system. Dr. Baum said, "You can store vast quantities of information in a test tube." End quote. A DNA memory could hold more words than all the computer memories ever made. It would not be difficult to envision this as one computer running all the systems of the world, a so-called brain of the world. In time of peace this would be wonderful, but in time of war it would be horrific. Who would control the use of the brain? What government? And where would it be located that it would be safe from takeover by hostile forces? On what continent? Or would it be safer on a space station orbiting the Earth? Whoever controls the brain controls the world. Fortunately, Nostradamus saw this advancement occurring after the time of troubles when we have entered the 1,000 years of peace. The other scenario would be too horrible to imagine. I wonder whether or not the scientists have considered these possibilities as they take their first baby steps into the world of the future. One scientist warned that there would be drawbacks. He said, "As time goes by, your DNA computer may start to dissolve. DNA gets damaged as it waits around in solutions, and the manipulations of DNA are prone to error." End quote. This was precisely the question I asked Nostradamus. I thought if something was organic or living matter, it would have cells and parts that would die. He indicated that this type of organic computer would be able to duplicate and repair itself. This concept is so new to the scientists they have not yet considered this possibility, that cells can duplicate themselves and thus keep the computer living indefinitely under the right circumstances. No wonder Nostradamus couldn't show Brenda what this machine would look like. The concepts were not existing in anyone's mind in 1986 and was therefore indescribable by anyone. Apparently Nostradamus saw that the great genius would be the deciding factor to tie all the ingredients together and create the working model. At least Nostradamus saw this great man using these concepts for good. I hope that the negative applications that he saw before the end of the time of troubles do not come to pass, and we can proceed peacefully and easily into the time of the great genius and the millennia.